At that moment, I hadn't realized that my encounter with the mammoth would change my life forever. When this colossal creature emerged from the snowstorm, at first it was a source of fear for me. That night, when it appeared in the midst of the blizzard, shrouded in darkness and uncertainty, my fear overwhelmed everything else. But as time passed, as I observed it and took the opportunity nature had offered me, the mammoth became more than just a mystery. It became my greatest companion. The mammoth's massive body and powerful steps reminded me once again how small and vulnerable I was in this world. But at the same time, I thought about what I could gain by becoming a part of its strength. However, winning over this giant beast, gaining its trust, and moving with it was no easy task. At first, the mammoth kept its distance from me, always alert. The cautious look in its eyes told me that an attack could come at any moment, but I didn't give up. I had a feeling that I could tame it. Perhaps if I failed, I wouldn't survive. This wasn't just about gaining a friend. It was a fight for survival. I spent days, weeks trying to earn the mammoth's trust. Every day I brought it food, stayed near it with patience, but never showed any aggression. I observed, carefully watching the mammoth's reactions, body language, and movements. The distance between us gradually started to close. Our first contact finally happened. When I touched its thick, tough skin, I felt the energy from that touch, and I knew the mammoth no longer saw me as a threat. When my hand touched its massive body, a sense of security washed over me. I knew then that I could move with it, that together we could traverse this cold and unforgiving world. This relationship with the mammoth was not just a classic bond between a hunter and an animal. There was a silent agreement between us. The mammoth was a force nature had given me, and I had to use that power wisely. Over time, the mammoth became not just a companion, but a friend. Now when I hunted, we moved together. Thanks to the mammoth's strength and endurance, our hunts were more fruitful. Whether it was deer, buffalo, or wild cattle, everything was easier with its help. What once took me hours or even days of tracking could now be done much faster. The mammoth's speed and power became my greatest advantage in this harsh winter season. Hunting with the mammoth not only increased the amount of game we brought back, but it also greatly improved my family's quality of life. We could preserve our meat longer, use the hides more efficiently, and make stronger tools from the bones. My family quickly noticed how much of a help the mammoth was. Even in the toughest days of winter, we no longer suffered from food shortages. Thanks to the mammoth, our struggle for survival gained new momentum. However, despite all these advantages, winter was still filled with challenges. The storms and constant snowfall wore down my shelter day by day. The roofs began to creak under the weight of snow and the force of the strong winds. The walls of the shelter no longer kept the cold out as effectively as before. Snowflakes would seep in through the cracks, and at night, the cold would envelop me in my sleep. My shelter, which once protected me and my family like a fortress, was now weakening under winter's relentless assault. It was on the verge of collapse, and I knew I had to completely rebuild it. But that was impossible before winter ended. I had no choice but to wait for spring. While waiting for spring, a plan grew within me. When I rebuilt my shelter, I would use the mammoth's strength. With its help, transporting wood from the forest and gathering logs would be much easier. I would do everything necessary to ensure that my shelter was stronger and more durable. With the mammoth's assistance, I could build an even sturdier home than before. Its strength would help me not just in hunting, but in every aspect of life. Throughout the winter, I thought about this plan, designing in my mind how I would rebuild my shelter. With the mammoth's help, I could manage this task. As the days passed, my bond with the mammoth deepened. By now, it was not just a tool for hunting, but an inseparable part of my life. Each time we went out to hunt, the silent harmony between us grew stronger. It had learned my movements, and I had learned its needs. We trusted each other, and that trust was evident not only in hunting, but in every area of life. As long as we moved together, not even the harsh conditions of nature could stop us. When winter ended, I set to work rebuilding my shelter. With the mammoth's help, we carried massive logs from the forest. It easily hoisted the logs onto its back, and I arranged them to fit the structure of the shelter. I was building a much stronger shelter than before. No wind or snow would penetrate this one. The ruthless conditions of winter would no longer wear it down like before. As we worked together, I grew more aware of how valuable the strength and help the mammoth provided truly were. After that harsh winter, the mammoth was no longer just a companion, but a member of my family. My family respected it, knowing how vital its help was for our survival. With the mammoth's strength, we had become stronger and more resilient in this cold world. But this journey with the mammoth wasn't just a physical fight for survival. Together, we began to uncover the secrets of nature. On every hunt, in every forest we passed through, there were whispers from nature, secrets for me to hear. The mammoth was like a gateway to the deeper mysteries of this world. With each step I took beside it, I better understood how vast and enigmatic this world truly was. My bond with the mammoth wasn't just a hunting partnership, it was a spiritual journey. And now I knew I was not alone in this world. Through the mammoth, nature had given me a friend and a confidant. As winter ended, a new chapter began for us. Now, alongside the mammoth, we weren't just surviving, we were embarking on an exploration of nature's depths. New hunts, new lands, and perhaps even greater secrets hidden by nature awaited us. And I, with this colossal creature beside me, was ready to uncover those mysteries with every step. Winter had ended, but this time spring wasn't just the awakening of nature. It was the beginning of a new chapter for us as well. After enduring the harsh winter days with the mammoth, I thought everything would be much easier. However, a sense of unease lingered within me, as if spring was bringing with it a new mystery that needed to be unraveled. As the weather warmed, the snow melted, slowly revealing patches of greenery. But it wasn't just the earth beneath the snow that was emerging. Traces of the past were coming to light as well. One morning, as the mammoth and I set out on our usual search for food in the forest, I felt the gentle warmth of the sun on my skin, though the air was still crisp. The mammoth, accustomed to the changing landscape, moved with lighter, more relaxed steps. As we walked, something on the ground caught my eye. There, in the damp earth exposed by the melting snow, something was glinting. I crouched down and dug through the soil. It wasn't a stone, it was a piece of metal, but unlike any metal I had ever seen. This metal, which I pulled from the ground, was covered in strange markings. It looked ancient, as if it belonged to a great civilization from long ago. As I held it in my hand, a shiver ran down my spine. I remembered stories I had heard as a child, tales told by the elders about ancient treasures buried deep within the earth and the beings that guarded them. But was that just legend? Or was the strange metal I held in my hand part of those stories? I sensed that the mammoth had also reacted to this oddity. It stepped closer, sniffing at the ground, as if it too recognized that what we had found was significant. Something was shifting in the world around us, and the mammoth was no longer just an animal. It had become a guide, leading me through a world filled with secrets. I examined the metal more closely. It was etched with symbols and designs I couldn't understand, yet they seemed to represent the sky, the stars, and the elements of nature. This wasn't a tool meant for hunting. It had a deeper purpose. Perhaps it was a map. But what did it lead to? A place, or perhaps a secret? I looked around. The forest was silent. Only the soft rustle of leaves stirred by the wind could be heard. The mammoth stood beside me, calmly watching. Something was changing. This object wasn't just a piece of metal. I had a feeling that it was calling me on a journey. But this journey was unlike any hunt we had ever undertaken. This was a journey beyond nature and time, into an ancient mystery. I carefully attached the metal to my belt and climbed onto the mammoth's back. We continued our trek. I trusted my instincts. This path was leading us somewhere. The forest seemed quieter than usual, as if even nature was observing our journey. The wind shifted, and I caught a faint, sharp scent in the air. It wasn't the smell of a nearby stream or the natural scent of the forest. It was something deeper, as if it came from beneath the earth. We walked for hours, perhaps even days. The mammoth pressed on without tiring. Eventually, we came upon a large cave. The cave was surrounded by massive rocks, and its dark mouth opened into a steep chasm. The wind blowing from inside felt like the breath of ancient times, brushing against my face. Something was inside, a secret from ages past. But this cave wasn't just made of stone and earth. Like the metal I had found, it was covered in ancient symbols. This wasn't the work of human hands. The mammoth and I approached the entrance of the cave. The rocks were engraved with symbols, some large and others small. I reached out and touched them, and as my fingers made contact, the rocks began to tremble. It was as if a door was being unlocked. The mammoth, too, became restless, snorting softly as it lowered its head to the ground. But turning back wasn't an option. If this door was opening, I had to go through. As we ventured deeper into the cave, the darkness seemed to pull me in. My footsteps echoed, and the symbols on the walls became clearer. I had a strange feeling, as if I was connected to both the past and the future at the same time. Time did not flow here. It moved in cycles. With each step, the secrets of nature and the universe whispered to me. It was as if this cave was a gateway to the center of the world. The mammoth stood by my side, almost as if it were guarding me. Its presence was what kept me steady amidst the unknown. But one question lingered in my mind. Where did this cave lead? What secret awaited me? After a while, a faint light appeared in the depths of the cave. A dim, flickering light. I approached cautiously. Near the source of the light stood an ancient altar made of stone. Symbols similar to those on the metal piece I had found were etched into the altar, pointing directly to the stars in the sky. It was as if this place was where heaven and earth converged. When I touched the altar, the cave began to shake. Something was awakening, and this awakening had the power to change the world. But before I could understand more, everything went black. I heard the mammoth's uneasy snorts. Something was happening, and in that moment, a force ancient and deep pulled me in. I tried to open my eyes to understand what was going on, but darkness enveloped everything. Inside, I felt only one thing. This journey wasn't over yet, and this was just the beginning.